So right there, we're looking at Broxbourne Rowing Club on the Berkshire station, not to be confused with Globe Rowing Club in a very similar strip on the Berkshire station, and we are underway. And just a little clip there of some wildlife on the water. You were just talking about the challenges of steering, Tom, in the previous race, and when you're really under pressure in those first 15 strokes, that must have been quite challenging for those crews to focus in.
Yeah, the eccentricities of Henley are never lost on me, and I think the wildlife you get on the course is something that crews will have to try and get used to, but it's almost impossible to plan for a goose or a swan flying headlong into your blade. But both crews made the best of this, I think, as you can see here. Globe with the better start time. I heard myself when I was trying to introduce the crews, Camilla, because it's quite hard to tell who's who, given their kits are practically identical. But it's Globe here on the near side of the screen who've had the better of the start. Nearly a length up, actually, after, just as we passed the island.
Yeah, really good start for Globe, who are in your picture right now. And they've settled down onto pace really well, which I think is a sign of a very mature crew to have the confidence to settle down onto pace.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, they look composed, they look relaxed. Just trying to break clear water here. You can't underemphasise the importance of trying to break away from the crew you're racing, because the moment you get that clear water margin, you're able to just psychologically exert yourself on the race. The crew you're competing against can no longer see you, they probably can't hear you, so they've got little to no idea, especially in these cocktail boats, of what's going on. So breaking clear water is of the utmost importance in these types of events.
And it looks like they've done that with a very confident stride around the finish. But I must say, Broxbourne making a great challenge to keep that bow ball overlapped. A little bit of steering, once again, we're seeing in these Wyfold events. The steersperson in this Wyfold Challenge crew for the Broxbourne boat is actually the stroke. Is actually the bow person, scorer in the bow seat, just having to make an adjustment. But he's been down this course 7 times before. This is his 7th Henley Royal Regatta, so hopefully he should know what to do. But small adjustments, Tom, it's all about small adjustments, right?
He should know better. I mean, I always look forward to the Wyfolds, especially in the Wednesday and Thursday racing, to see what some people's interpretation of a straight line is. I think there is a lot of nuance to steering a coxless boat, and we've spoken a lot about this already today, around sort of the role of the cox and not only steering but actually motivating the crew. But the bow person in these coxless crews, often not only are they tasked with trying to row at their full physical capacity, they also have to mentally and psychologically stimulate the crew and steer a straight line. So it's not easy, not easy. And you can see here, Broxbourne making us all aware that it's not that easy.
So more adjustments to be made here in the Broxbourne crew on the right-hand side of your picture. But it's not actually lost them contact too much. I think if they were going in a straight line, Tom, we'd see a little bit more overlap here with Globe, who, like we say, a little bit more composed. They're just in their own boat. And we saw a little bit of looking round there from the bow person, scorer, who we've already mentioned for Broxbourne. Do we think, that's helping him, or do we think actually by all that movement, moving his head back and forth, it's actually causing the boat to snake somewhat?
I mean, look, Camilla, I never rowed at a high level, but the one thing that was drilled into me whenever I competed was focus on what's in your boat. Don't focus on what's going on outside. Execute your race plan as best you can. So checking out what the other crew are doing, it can be helpful at points, but there comes a point where the balance flips and it becomes actually counterproductive to continue to be looking at what your opposition are doing. But for sure, if Broxbourne was doing a straight line, this would be perhaps a slightly more engaging contest. But at the moment, Globe just, because they're able to just steer the course more proficiently, they're able to enjoy the dividends of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about racing the Henley course before being an advantage, which it should be there for the steersperson of the Broxbourne crew. But look, we can't forget about the advantages of having rowed with the crew well together. And actually, this crew from Globe are all sort of returning athletes from their junior squad that have come back to race for their club later on, which is so nice to see, because that's often where we lose people in this sport, Tom. I find that we lose people, they go to university and then, they fall out of the sport in some way, shape or form. So great to see a crew like this back together.
Yeah, and we need strong club programmes to make sure we keep people engaged in the sport and believing that they can come and compete at such a prestigious event like Henley Royal Regatta. So you're completely right. The attrition that goes on between junior, student and club is is pretty sizable in the UK, and it's so important that we have people who are continuing in the sport and being ambassadors for rowing, right? I mean, and if you're an aspiring club rower, if you're somebody who's thinking about taking up the sport and you're watching these pictures, there's nowhere better to come and compete in rowing than Henley Regatta.
So we're just coming past Remenham Club now on your picture. It's still Globe Rowing Club leading the way after them steering the most consistent straight line down the course. A few steering problems, like we've already said, if you're just joining us here in the Broxbourne crew, but they've sorted that out now. And I think if they can change gear here in the last 600 metres, we could be on for a race to the line.
Yeah, exactly. This race is by no means done and dusted. I think Broxbourne have made hard work at the steering, like you say, but ultimately they've still managed to sort of keep their noses in this race. And if they can wind up around now, you can see there in the background the stewards enclosure, which sort of demarcates around 400, 500 metres to go. If they can start to wind at that point, then we could definitely be in for an interesting final sort of quarter to the race.
Well, I just think that the Globe crew looking well together, although when we panned to their faces a minute ago, I think it was hurting, that fast start that they put out to try and close out the challenge from Broxbourne and snap that elastic band. It causes a lot of effort, a lot of pain, and they'll be feeling that right now. And I think still, like saying, with just over a length, anything is possible in these coxless fours. Broxbourne have just got to keep their heads screwed on now here. So if you were calling in this Broxbourne crew, what do you think you'd be calling for right now?
Put me on the spot. I think I'd be calling now to start to take things up, because it's sort of now or never. Ultimately, if you come into the final 200 metres and you're still a length down, the chances of you recovering that deficit are slim to none. So if Broxbourne want to make a move, they need to do it now.
Well, there we are. There's the crew that needs to do something to change their fate in this heat of the Wyfold Challenge Cup. This event for coxless Club 4s. And Broxbourne looking to try and move through Globe Rowing Club, who have just made the best of the last 2,000 metres or so. And a few heads out the boat there for Globe. Do you think they're starting to get a little bit pressured and panicked at how close Broxbourne are in the closing stages?
Yeah, I think they're a bit rattled here, Globe, but they look like the more technically proficient crew, I have to say. If I'm watching the two and I'm watching their blades go in, there's more synchronicity in the Globe crew. It looks like they've been rowing together longer, like you said, Camilla. They understand each other, and that experience as you come in to A, the hurt locker, and B, the final 400 metres of a race, you need to know that the guy in front of you or the guy behind you is with you and is going to react positively to this situation. Ultimately, Globe look like they've managed to hold Broxbourne's advantage off to this point.
Well, I think Globe now just starting to put the rating up. There was a really concerted change there in that crew. A little bit more on the foot plate, a little bit more sharpness around the turn, and that has broken back that advantage they had over Broxbourne Rowing Club, and a little bit more interference from the wildlife there in the closing stages, but not enough to put off either of these crews from their rhythm, because coming into the line now, it is going to be a victory here in the Wyfold Challenge Cup on the Wednesday for Globe Rowing Club. A very consistent race there for both crews, and congratulations there to the winning crew from Globe, who will be celebrating their 100 years in a couple of years' time, so congratulations to them.